Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Brendan Plays. This is Total Extreme Wrestling for All Elite Wrestling. Oh boy, things are getting crazy in the real world as we record this one. We are kind of going through the fallout from All Out, and it is crazy. It's a bit of a mess. We still don't know the length of the suspensions for a lot of the wrestlers that were involved in the big fracas, the big post-All Out brawl, backstage fight, but we know roughly how I'm going to approach it. So let's jump into that before we get to this week's Dynamite. So obviously the big names involved, CM Punk, we were gearing him up to be probably the world champion at some point, maybe around All Out time. We were probably going to put the belt on him in our game. Now, I don't think that's going to happen. It still could maybe happen, but not at All Out. Probably later on in the year if it does. The Jacksons, well, they just recently lost the Tag Team Championships, so we weren't really going to do too much with them, but they're coming out of the big feud with the Blackpool Combat Club. The Trios Championship was certainly something we're going to go towards. And Kenny Omega, well, obviously, he's the world champion. He's the man right now. He's the big fish. So him potentially having a suspension is massive in our game. So, which is why we can't really suspend him just yet, because we need him to drop the championship. And we're not going to do it on a random episode of Dynamite. It makes sense to do it at the pay-per-view at least. So we were gearing up for Kenny versus Danielson at Road Rager. That was going to be the match. Now, we weren't really going to have a title change take place, but I think we're going to have to. If we're going to suspend Kenny Omega, then we're going to have to probably do a title change. And the other people involved, you know, obviously Ace Steel, he was involved. We don't have Pat Buck, we never signed him in the end. Daniels, I guess he's technically involved as well, and to a degree. Brandon Cutler as well. So a few of these lesser known names are involved. Now, in real life, we don't know the length of their suspensions. We've been told until the investigation is finished. Now, this could take 2 weeks, 2 months, I don't know. I really don't know. But for me, well, I need to throw out a random number. And I think to really reflect the severity of this situation, it's got to be significant enough. And I kind of, you give them 2, 3, 4 weeks off. Now, 4 weeks of TV for our show, we can really do anything without anyone for 4 weeks comfortably. You know, even Kenny Omega, you could get through 4 weeks of TV without him showing up as the world champion pretty comfortably. It wouldn't really matter because you just put the focus on another championship, whether that be the All-Atlantic Championship, TNT title. You'd really just make the show really centered around that. Maybe you have a tournament, a lot of number one contendership. There's so many different ways you can approach it. So I think we're going to have to do some sort of length that would really affect our show to kind of put that magnitude into our game of the situation. So I'm thinking 2 months, maybe 3 months for a suspension. I think potentially Kenny Omega seems like he was lesser involved, so he might be more 2 months. The Young Bucks, CM Punk, potentially 3 months. And the other guys like Cutler and the others, maybe just 1 month. That's going to be pretty big. Now, in real life, CM Punk, he's going to be gone for 8 months, 9 months because of an injury, but not because of a suspension. The Young Bucks and co, we don't know. So I think if we just work off a rough guide of maybe 3 months, and even like you think about it, that's going to be like 12 episodes without these guys for our say. That's a long time. That's going to really make me shake up the way I'm going to book the show. It's really going to make things difficult. It's going to change plans, throw a lot of different plans out the window. And how do you bring these guys back? That'll be the other question. Do you push them, even though they're just coming off a big major suspension? You know, do you kind of bury them? Do you know, all these different things you got to think about. So it's exciting at the same time because it gives us an opportunity to push some different people, but also it's frustrating because we're going to lose, you know, some of our biggest names. We're going to lose Kenny Omega, our world champ, and CM Punk, my next number one star. My biggest merch seller is CM Punk, the guy that literally, in our save, is the sole reason why we are making money. Though, last few months, we've been making, you know, 800,000, you know, some months 200,000. Well, CM Punk, in terms of the financial magnitude of what he brings to the table, well, he brings last month $650 $6,000 to the company in merchandise sales alone. You take away $650,000. Well, at the moment, yes, we might be just still, in the green, but for a while there, that would still put us back in the red. So that's the kind of significance that he's got for us. So I still think he'll be generating merch sales even though he's out, but yeah, that's kind of what we're going to be dealing with. So the plan, I suppose, is these guys will serve their suspension after Road Rager. So we'll treat Road Rager as our pay-per-view where the big fight happens, and then we already have to make the change that CM Punk hates, all these different people now, and the Elite, they all hate these different people. So I've done that already. So he hates Colt Cabana, hates Adam Page, doesn't like Omega and the Young Bucks. So we've done that change already. So that's kind of where I'm thinking with the big, all-out, fallout. It's going to be difficult to kind of book and manage this all, but I think it'll be an exciting challenge nonetheless, and we can really figure out what we're going to do without the Elite basically on the show, and without our biggest star, our number one guy, CM Punk. No doubt about it, he's been the man. He's been our top dog, and he was going to be world champion. There's no doubt. We're gearing him up to be that. He's had good match quality. He and MJF had 3 really great matches, the best being 88 rated, so it's a massive loss. There's no doubt. It's a huge loss for us. All right, well, we move ahead. We move on, and not fully, because we haven't fully adjusted our shows to not include them, and I still think we'll have CM Punk appear at the pay-per-view in a Fatal 4-Way. Realistically, he would have won that match, but now I suppose we can change gears and make it a little bit different. But so let's jump into the show, and we're going to have a few different things happen. So let's get into it. First of all, the Natural Pros. So last episode, we trialed a team of Silas Young and Dustin Rhodes. This week, I decided, let's not use Silas. Let's use someone else on the roster that's, been around for a long time, veteran, and could really use something, some sort of different change or team push of some sort. So that's Frankie Kazarian. So we're going to team him up with Dustin Rhodes. We're going to call them the Natural Pros. So being Dustin's the natural and pros because they're veterans. Well, they defeat the Wingman here. 50 rated match. Pretty good. Kazarian 51, Dustin Rhodes 44. So that's good enough for a solid mid-card, lower mid-card tag team and a babyface team. So they could be definitely a solid team that might put over a Private Party, for example, or a 2.0 or something like that, just to get a team, get their ball rolling, I suppose. As our next match, Paige Van Zant, she defeats Leva Bates. So 43 from Paige Van Zant. So she's leaving to do an MMA fight very soon. So I'm thinking we might have to hotshot her. If we're going to use her at all in this save, we might have to do it now. So we don't have an opponent for Jade Cargill. So I'm thinking maybe we put her on TV and we give her a title shot against Jade. And that gives Jade a solid win, gives her an opponent for a short space of time whilst we build somebody else up around them. And we at least get some sort of usage out of Paige Van Zandt, because at this stage we were going to get nothing. And if she performs at 43, I'll take it. That's good enough. Okay, let's start the show off. This week on the main show, Dynamite, Sting attempts to find Miro after all these attacks that he's been doing, attacking all these wrestlers post-match, getting in, potentially attacking officials and AEW staff. Sting was going to find him, but Miro introduces his new agent, his new manager, Ken Anderson, who confronts Sting and shuts down any potential fines because he's got some clause in a contract that he brings out or some sort of way to get out of it. So Ken Anderson debuts his loudmouth manager gimmick. It's been given a rating of very good. It's a great start. So I've done the big move. Ken Anderson, we kind of want to see him as like our version of a Paul Heyman, a top level manager managing big name clients, or at least he's got a huge name to start with at Miro, and really try to elevate some different guys on the roster. So we're going to give him one other client, and we'll reveal that in a moment. But Ken Anderson didn't perform that well in this segment, but I feel like once he gets a bit more popularity and once he gets his feet on the ground here in AEW, he will perform better. So let's hope that this Miro and Anderson pairing works out. Next up, the Pinnacle defeated the House of Black, 80 rated match. Now, the other thing I didn't even mention, we now know Malachi Black is gone. He's going to be leaving, so no more Malachi Black. So we will, I suppose, I don't know if I will release it. I feel like we probably should release him, get rid of him. So this was me testing out the House of Black without Malachi. Life without Malachi Black, is it worth even thinking about? Well, Buddy Matthews 69, Brody King 71, Darby Allin 70. There's still some value there, isn't there? But you can't really have a House of Black without Malachi Black. Wouldn't make sense. So I still feel like there's some potential value. Maybe we'll keep Buddy and Brody together and let Darby go his own way. And they are technically a babyface team. So that's the thing. They are a babyface team in our save. So that's the difference that we've had. We kind of wanted them that cool, that dark sort of cool vibe about them. They're spooky and a bit out there, a bit weird, but they're kind of cool. That's kind of the feel we were trying to go for with them, rather than the big bad tough spooky heels. So, well, they had an 80 rated match. No surprise. You have FTR there. They're always going to deliver. And Wardlow, he performed pretty well, 75. So again, we need another trio, and I think the Pinnacle and Wardlow trio would definitely work. And obviously the Pinnacle, they had the tag team champions FTR, so they've got that luxury. Next up, Christian Cage asked Samoa Joe about his answer to join his group. So last week he asked Samoa Joe, "You gonna join my group?" Samoa Joe says he's not that impressed by the group. He doesn't really believe they're really gonna go that far just yet. So he wants to see a little bit more. He wants to wants to see some wins, wants to see something happen before he makes that decision. So 82, so good solid segment with these guys. Next up, W. Morrissey makes his debut. He beats Colt Cabana in about 4 minutes, and he debuts his Enforcer gimmick, which is rated as very good. Well, obviously he debuts in real life. We're going to bring him in here. He's been working with Ring of Honor, so we've already seen him a little bit in the past. And he's currently one half of the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions with Enzo. So I suppose Morrissey, I feel like he could be a good addition to anybody's group. And I also feel like he could be a solid mid-card level heel, or at least kind of be a bodyguard for someone, or do something like that. So for now, we're going to have Ken Anderson offer his services to Morrissey. So Anderson, he's come just to AEW, he's got Miro, he's looking for more. And straight away, he swoops in, he's going to be the first guy to offer his services to Morrissey. A little bit like Stokely Hathaway in real life, he comes in, he's offering, hey, work with me, we're going to do great things. So Morrissey already gets a big endorsement from Anderson, so we'll see how that kind of plays out. We haven't technically said that he's accepted it yet, but I feel like it could be a solid pairing. If we want to do something with Morrissey, it's a good thing to have. If not, it could at least be someone that is going to watch the back of Ken Anderson. So if Anderson's going to be a bit controversial and make some moves, well, he's got some backup. Ricky Starks defeats Wheeler Yuta in a 63 rated match. Starks 64, solid win there for Ricky as he's building towards a TNT title opportunity. Andrade gets a win over Matt Hardy, 81 rated match. Matt Hardy 49, oh boy, he's declining rapidly. Andrade 88, wow. So Andrade, we're talking about he needs, the Christian Coalition needed an impressive win to make Samoa Joe impressed, and to, make Samoa Joe think that, hey, I should join this group. Well, Andrade beating Matt Hardy is a kind of an indication of that. Look, Andrade is probably the biggest star in their group. He picks up another solid win. He's looking like $1 million. This is what you could do if you join the group, is basically what we're trying to say there. The Inspiration, they get a rare TV appearance. They are taunting Thunderstorm. So we start that rivalry between Inspiration and Thunderstorm, get that rolling. TJ, they take on the Baddies. They defeat them in a 58 rated match. I think it was an eye candy. Solid win for TJ. Of course, TJ needs to get a win to prove that they are deserving of a rematch for their women's tag team titles against Divinity. Madison Rayne, she announces a 5-way to determine the next women's championship contender. 56 rated. So at Road Rager, we're thinking of doing a big 5-way to determine it. I just figured, why not feature and highlight multiple different women? You know, Jade's kind of beaten majority of them anyways. So I thought, well, why not highlight a number of them, get them all involved. Maybe Athena grabs the win and then she becomes the next contender. You know, a way to kind of spotlight 5 different women rather than just 1 or 2. So 56 for that one. Sammy Guevara defeats Tomohiro Ishii. 78 rated match. Guevara 86, Ishii 64. So solid match. Again, using Ishii to kind of work with different guys, put on a good match, lose, and move on. Nice match, nice win for Sammy, who needs it as he prepares for, well, I still think it'll be a 4-way for the number 1 contendership. The Blackpool Combat Club, they turn their attentions to the Trios Championship. Eddie Kingston, Don Moxley, there, cutting a promo. Claudio was meant to be in this segment, but Claudio was actually working in Japan, so he was unavailable to appear on this episode. So the plan is to have Claudio, Moxley, and Kingston all together. Danielson at the moment is too busy fighting for the world title, so he won't be in the trio. Speaking of Danielson, I believe this is the main event. He defeated Bobby Fish in a 17-minute match, 81 rated. So Bobby Fish, well, he's another one that leaves AEW. Lots of people going. So we're going to have him do a couple of jobs before we let his contract go. So he loses to Danielson here, 81 rated, pretty solid, as he gets a big win ahead of his rematch with Kenny Omega. So that's kind of what that match was all about. So not an amazing, like, big angle to finish out the show or anything like that, but a couple of solid wins to make our top stars look good heading into their big moments. Obviously, we kicked off the show with a big reveal of Anderson. So, yeah, look, overall, an 81 rated show. We accomplished a few different things. Pretty good. Moving along now to this week's edition of Dark, and let's get into it on the pre-show. Abaddon, we're going to get another chance to see how her progression is going. She performs at 43. Pretty good, actually. She gets a win over Leva Bates in the pre-show, 41 rated. Okay, Abaddon, not too bad. I mean, we've held onto her for a long time. She hasn't really progressed that well, but 43, showing pretty good signs that she might actually become decent at some point. Next up, we open up the main show with the 5 women of AEW who will be competing in an upcoming fatal 5-way match to determine the next contender for the Women's Championship. All those women involved here, without, of course, Ali. So Ali will be not in this match, but it'll be Penelope, Statlander, Sheeta, Athena, and Baker. In the 5-way, Ali's just accompanying Penelope forward there. So 58 for the promos. They're all going back and forth, talking about the upcoming match. Yeah, pretty good. 58 for a talking segment for the women is pretty good. Cabanahausen was defeated by the Private Party. 64 rated match. Pretty good. Isaiah Cassidy, 69 rated in this one, so very good. Christian Cage doing some good work ringside, so that's what we're hoping for, that if Christian Cage can kind of elevate their act a little bit and try and give them some more credibility. So far, so good with the Private Party. You know, having Christian Cage maybe as a trio, I think will be a good, solid, long-term thing for them. Tay Mello and Anna Jay are in the backstage in Madison Rain's office, and Madison Rain agrees to give them their rematch for the women's tag team title. So originally they were not going to get it, they had to earn it. Well, they ended up getting a win, and apparently they've done enough to get the title rematch. Bobby Fish takes an L against Powerhouse Hobbs for 59. Bobby Fish 62, Will Hobbs 67. So only getting 59 is a little underwhelming, but wanted to give Will Hobbs a solid win and give him a test. Can he compete in a really highly competitive, nearly 15-minute match and do it at a high quality? And he's done it. 67 from him. Fish was good, 62. Of course, Fish on his way out, so he's going to take a few losses before he goes. 2.0, we've given him some talking time for 34, just to get them on TV. Takeshita took on Jay Lethal in a 71 rated match. Lethal 76, Takeshita 51. Great performances all round. Not only a 9.5 minute match, to get a 71 is way overachieving in my opinion. Keith Lee, he has a backstage promo. He says that he's impressed by Starks and he knows it'll be a difficult defense. 82 rated for the promo by Keith Lee, so he is hitting it out of the park once again. Ken Anderson, well, he's back here again this week on Dark, and he's hyping up W. Morrissey, 53 for the promo in the segment. So early days for both Morrison and Anderson, so we'll not judge them too harshly yet, but 53 is passable. We'd like to see that probably increase in the next few weeks, I would say. Ruby Soho gets a win over Red Velvet, 48 rated. Ruby 53 performance, solid. And our main event was Samoa Joe. He scores a win over Tony Nese, 70 rated. So I wanted to give Joe another solid win just to make him impressive, look good. And of course, post-match segment, Christian appears on the stage and he suggests that he wants an answer soon from Samoa Joe. 69 for that one. Gives us a 70 rated edition of Dark. Starting to get more consistently around the 70 mark, which is great. Not the ideal plan. We weren't trying to make Dark, have great shows all the time, but I find myself having to use, mid to upper mid-card guys more often on the show, and because of that, it's helping the ratings. So it's making Dark that more palatable and worth watching, I think. Alright, now on to Rampage. We're going to kick things off here with Punk, Page, and Guevara with a 99 rated promo as they kind of talk about Miro's recent attacks and the whole number one contendership situation. So yeah, good stuff, really advancing and building that storyline nicely. Jade takes on Yuka Sakazaki, women's title on the line, makes it her 7th defense. Now I wanted to get Yuka out there and hopefully have a good match with Jade, which she did, and potentially gain some, maybe some popularity by having a solid match on TV. That's the goal anyways. I don't know if we'll accomplish it, but we want to try and get Yuka a bit of popularity to build her towards a potential championship match for the tag team championships at some point. So this was an eye candy match. Jade excelled, 67 rated performance from her, which was great. Now, more importantly for Jade, what we do next is what we were looking for. Paige Van Zandt, she gets her opportunity to make her debut. She attacks Jade, holds the belt in the air, and we're off. Here we go. Jade versus Paige, one-on-one at Road Rager for the belt. That's where we're headed. We're going to hot shot this rivalry, make it happen, and yeah, hopefully it'll turn out okay. We've tried out Paige in a few different pre-show segments and matches, and she's been passable. So she's going to take an MMA fight soon, so she might not be available to use very, very soon. So we may as well capitalize on it now. And whilst we're doing that match, we've got the number one contendership happening in the background too. So a lot of our women are still getting utilized. And this at least will give Jade a nice, credible opponent quickly. She can beat Paige. We can move on. We don't have to give away a big match, I suppose, on this pay-per-view. So I think it kind of works. It will definitely get us through a little bit longer and give Jade a credible win anyways. We had a trios match, Best Friends in 2.0, 59 rated. Not a lot of popularity in this match, so no surprise it wasn't that highly rated. Orange Cassidy, the best of match, 68, having to try to carry it. Next up, we had the Elite backstage. More importantly, Kenny Omega, as he's talking about how he's beaten Bryan Danielson once before. He's going to do it again. So the confidence oozing out of the champion right now, Kenny Omega, for their championship match at Road Rager. 95, good stuff. Main event was Proud and Powerful versus the Lucha Bros. So we've been building towards this match for the last few weeks. Now, obviously, I want to do this on the pay-per-view, but I feel like the pay-per-view will be kind of the blow-off match in a way, whereas this one is the setup match. So we've got Rey Fenix, 90 rated, Penta 82, Ortiz 78, Santana 75. Both teams are great, and this is why we want to get Proud and Powerful in a better position, because they have a lot of talent. There's something there. There's something we can work with, but we just haven't been able to put them in the right position or scenario or storyline to really exploit it. So hopefully with a babyface turn, we can get this team up and rolling, because at the moment they've just been held back. It's just not quite there. So a great match. In the end, the Lucha Bros win. Park helps the Lucha Bros win the match. So getting a bit of sympathy on the babyface team, because for the last couple of times these teams have met in some sort of capacity. There's been some screwy finishes, things like that. So we can at least try and get a bit of sympathy on the Proud and Powerful. When are they going to get their fair chance? And then next up, here's the big turn. So Lucha Bros refuse to shake the hands of Proud and Powerful, and they end up spitting in their face. Ultimate disrespect shown by Death Triangle and Lucha Bros. They don't care about, Santana and Ortiz at all. No interest in being, showing any respect or shaking the hands or whatever. So the crowd boos the Death Triangle, and I feel like that's kind of a signifier of, hey, we're not going to take this anymore. If you're proud and powerful, it's time to do something about it. So we'll go with the turn. So Ortiz, he's had 7 segments to build it up. The turn's a success for him. Santana, the turn's a success as well. So hopefully this is the start of something for Proud and Powerful. It's taken us a long time. Now that we've gone away from the Inner Circle, we can finally focus on Santana and Ortiz as just a team. Hopefully this is the start of something good. I feel like Santana and Ortiz, if they had one more guy and we're a trio, right now, considering our trio situation is a bit scarce, they could definitely be a team to win the trios belt, because at the moment I really don't know what we're going to do with the trios championship, especially with the elite out. We're going to lose the undisputed elite as well. I don't know. I really don't know. But anyway, 76 rated show for Rampage. We do get a slight increase, so that's a thumbs up. We just did enough to get a good rating. All right, let's take a look at the results. What went down post Rampage and Dynamite. Peter Avalon, well, he's been bulking up. He's now at lightweight. He needed it. He's still on the shelf, though. He's got a bad spinal injury. He might just be, eating cake and eating donuts, chilling back, laying on the couch, rather than bulking up. We don't know. We'll see. Rampage, 952,000 viewers in total, so not too bad in the end. Pat Buck, well, we know that he's been involved in a little bit of fracas lately, but we'll bring him in to be a part of the road agent team. We need some more of them anyways. So there we go. In terms of what else is happening around the game, quick little stop at Ring of Honor. Let's kind of check in with how they're going. Financially, they're in the red, but we cover majority of their costs, so that's not a big deal. In terms of their champions, I don't think there's been too much of a change. You still got Jay Lethal, he's the world champion. Enzo and Morrissey are the tag team champions. Rhett Titus is the TV champion. Perazzo is the women's, and the pure title is Jonathan Gresham. So we still have Gresham. I know he's technically gone from Ring of Honor. That might be something we might need to do, is get rid of him. So, but in terms of the show quality from them, it hasn't really increased. We've gone, we started in the early 50s and we're still kind of there. When we booked the pay-per-view and we allowed, access to a few different guys, they had a good show, 78. The pay-per-view that they booked, 55. So, and then we haven't had a pay-per-view since, so it's been a while. TV ratings, when we first started, we had 214,000 viewers. TNT had 157,000 viewers. Now in the low 230s, 240 sort of area. So there has been some growth there, which is good to see. And Ring of Honor as a company size started at 40, now at 44. So that's positive as well. If they get to 59 in the tri-state, then they move up to the next size, which would be medium. That's going to take a fair while to get there, I would say. And considering that majority of their show quality is in that mid-50s, I don't think they'll be able to get to 59 anyways. Not unless they did something, or we kind of give them a new signing or something like that. We've given them a few different things. For example, Claudio, he's still named as Cesaro. We'll change that. So we've given them a few different things. They've got Claudio there. Dalton Castle's still there. I think he's now left in real life too. I even gave them Kenta. I figured, why not? When he's in America, he can work in Ring of Honor and do some dates and shows there, just as not a major contract, but just something. I think he was also a free agent. I think he left New Japan. Yeah, so he left New Japan. So I figured, why not throw him in Ring of Honor? Have him do something. They have Chris Hero, Johnny Honor as well. So John Morrison. So they've got some names. They've got some guys that can work. They've got some guys with some name value. So they should have the ingredients to kind of grow the company. And if we mix in a few different developmental guys, there's something there. But at the moment, they just haven't really been able to take off yet in terms of their show quality. So something to keep an eye on. So anyways, 2 weeks away from Road Rager. It's looking to be a decent card. We've got obviously the 4-way for the world title number contendership. Danielson and Omega, that should be a huge match. Could be the best match we've had in the series. Always has that potential. I'm not sure if we'll do Andrade and Samoa Joe on the pay-per-view yet. We are kind of building towards it. we could, still got 2 more weeks of build, so it could still work, and we can still make that happen. Proud and Powerful, Lucha Bros, as we saw, we'll have a rematch there. Trios Championship, I don't know, we don't have any, can we do Blackpool Combat Club versus Best Friends on pay-per-view? That's kind of where we're headed. I keep trying to use Claudio, but I think he's doing a tour or some sorts, or he's over in Japan at the moment in Pro Wrestling Noah, so we haven't really been able to use him at all, which has made it really difficult as well to kind of, do anything with the Blackpool Combat Club, because we don't have the third member of the trio at the moment at our disposal. So it's been tough to get the trios belts underway. That's what I'm saying. If we had a few different teams that had one more partner, for example, the Acclaimed or Team Taz, Jurassic Express, Butcher and Blade, Proud and Powerful, as we mentioned, a few more teams that we could find one more partner for, it would work out really well. And funny enough, it actually would work well right now with the Pinnacle versus the House of Black if that was for the trios belts. But unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but FTR have the tag team titles, so it wouldn't really work at this stage. So I guess really the best trio at the moment to take on the Blackpool Combat Club would probably be the Christian Coalition. But do we want to have them lose this early on? I mean, Death Triangle's always a good shout as well. So yeah, we're in a bit of a tricky situation. I want to have a quick little look as well. Santana and Ortiz had the turn. And where are they currently positioned? So they're doing okay. 63 pop, 65 in a few areas. Mid-Atlantic 69. So big popularity there for Santana. Ortiz, a little bit lower. More of the 61, 62 sort of range. A couple 65. So good popularity for both, there's no doubt. And they are in a position, I feel, to be a big star tag team on our roster. Yuka Sakazaki, we mentioned earlier, we're trying to move her up the card. And she's gained some pop. So she was at 22, she's now at 23. So the match with Jade looks like it did actually work, which is a nice surprise. And Jade's sitting at 46 for her popularity, so that's huge for us. Paige Van Zant, 43. So it's going to be a good matchup nonetheless. I don't know how good it's going to be in the ring. It might nearly be best to even do a eye candy match because she's got 87 sex appeal. Jade has 88. So that could actually be really, really highly rated if we did it that way. I don't think a match with Jade, considering she's that bodybuilder style athlete and an MMA fighter, and Paige Van Zant as an eye candy would be the way to go. But if we want the best rating possible, that's what we got to do. But I don't know. We will see. But so a few different things to kind of consider and think about. And obviously, we want to continue to build up different guys on the card. Morrissey's a new one that we want to think about doing something with. Comes in with 44 popularity. So he had 42 last month. So he actually has gained a bit working in Ring of Honor, which is good to see. And the jury's still out. Will this Ken Anderson situation work with him? I'm hoping so. And Anderson doesn't have the popularity to really drive his segments up that high yet. But fingers crossed, this works out and he does develop that popularity, especially working alongside Miro. I think there's a good opportunity that he'll do so. So that's kind of where we're at. A few weeks away from Road Rager. The storylines are looking pretty good. I don't think it's going to be a huge pay-per-view for us, especially, afterwards we're going to be suspending the Elite and CM Punk. Man, the next few months is going to be really hard to work with. No doubt about that. I'm dreading it a little bit. It's going to be really difficult, but it should be interesting nonetheless. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this edition of Total Extreme Wrestling. If you enjoyed it, leave a like on it and subscribe to see more. We'll be back with more very soon.